Hey guys, welcome back to Football Around the Clock. I hope you all are having a great day, and today we're going to be breaking down the top 15 2020 NFL draft reaches. So that's kind of, to clarify, it means like the team reach, I think they could have waited a little longer to make this pick. I didn't think there was 15, so some of these aren't really that bad. I'll explain them as I go. I got 15 of them here, so some of them, like 15, isn't bad at all. It was a solid pick, just maybe could have gotten them a bit later. I'm trying to make this video 20 minutes. We'll see how that goes. If you enjoy the video, please like and consider subscribing. That would help out a lot. We post videos every other day, so stay tuned for those. And let's get right into it. Our 15th draft reach was Michael Pittman, wide receiver out of USC. The Indianapolis Colts picked him in the second round, 34th overall. The reason I think this was a bit of a reach was you guys need to realize this is the second pick of the second round, so it's just 2 picks away from being a first round pick. I don't think Michael Pittman was that big of a talent. Obviously, he produced at USC, but he's not like speed. He's not going to create a ton of space. He can jump up and catch the ball, but I don't think he does that any better than like a Denzel Mims type player, and Denzel Mims was still available. Denzel fell to the bottom of the second round. I feel like Denzel Mims is a better overall player than him. I mean, yeah, I just definitely think they could have gotten better value. T. Higgins went one pick before them. I think T. Higgins is a much better player, and if they really wanted to draft a receiver, they could have traded up 1 pick. It wouldn't have cost that much. So, yeah, but at the end of the day, it wasn't an awful reach. That's why he's here at 15. It was a solid pick. Michael Pittman should be a solid player and a pretty solid fit for the Colts offense. I honestly see him being pretty similar to T.Y. Hilton. I don't think he'll be as good as T.Y. Hilton in his prime, but he's a solid player. I gotta go faster though, so let's get into number 14. Isaiah Wilson, offensive tackle out of Georgia. He can also play guard. The Tennessee Titans picked him in the first round, 29th overall. I think he's a solid player. I didn't expect him to go in the first round though. I thought he would go like late second to early third, so it's a bit of a reach, but I'm not as surprised as I think some people were really surprised. I'm not as surprised. Now, the reason I'm not a huge fan of this pick is guys like Josh Jones were still available, and I think Josh Jones is a better player than Isaiah Wilson, and Josh Jones ended up falling to the third round, so I feel like they just could have gotten better value there. So it was a bit of a reach, but it wasn't an awful pick. He's a solid. I think he's a better guard, but they had him listed as an offensive tackle when they drafted him, so that's looks like where he'll play. And yeah, Tennessee Titans need those big offensive linemen to block for Derrick Henry since they're mainly run offense. Let's get into our 13th overall player. This was Devin Asiasi, tight end out of UCLA. The New England Patriots selected him in the third round, 91st overall. This is the first of 2 Patriots tight ends that are going to get a reach here, but I just don't think Devin Asiasi was a third round pick. I saw him more of like a mid to late 4th round pick, and also there were better tight ends available. I know at that point Adam Trautman was still available. They could have waited even longer and taken like a Harrison Bryant, who I think is probably better than him. So, but it wasn't an awful pick. He's a higher upside player. He has a lot of potential, so that's why I'm not gonna rip on it too much, but I feel like they could have waited a bit longer and picked him. That's just my opinion. But yeah, let's get into our 12th biggest reach in Darrell Taylor, D-end out of Tennessee. The Seattle Seahawks picked him in the second round, 48th overall. And the Seattle Seahawks always do something like this. This is one of the picks that I'm not going to be too hard on. I actually really like Darrell Taylor. I just didn't expect him to go this early. I was expecting Darrell Taylor to go more like third round earliest. He ended up going mid second round, so you just have to question a few things. There were guys like Romeo Okwara, AJ Epineza maybe even had been available there. Maybe he was picked a bit earlier than that, but Romeo Okwara I feel like was a better edge rusher. They could have taken him there, but Darrell Taylor, he just wasn't very consistent at Tennessee. That's my problem with him, is his consistency, but he definitely has a lot of upside, and that's I think why they made this pick. And so it's not an awful pick. It comes in at number 12 on our reaches here. And at number 11, we got Jonah Jackson, guard out of Ohio State. The Detroit Lions selected him in the third round, 73rd overall. This wasn't a very strong interior offensive line class at all, but I think if they wanted to address that, they should have gone with like Tyler Biadasz out of Wisconsin instead of Jonah Jackson. I mean, Tyler Biadasz was a center, but he can obviously go to guard if needed. He's an inside offensive lineman. So I just don't think Jonah Jackson was a great player. I think it was a bit of a reach, and it's just because of it was such a weak guard class that, they wanted to reach to get one of the better ones in the class. But just because he's one of the better ones in the class doesn't mean he's good. So I think they should have waited. I don't think he's going to be a high-quality starter in the league. I think he's probably worth a 4th or 5th round pick, not a 3rd, early 3rd at that. I think they might have even traded up to get that pick. So that one just doesn't really make sense to me. I mean, it makes sense. I just don't agree with it. I think it was a reach, and he's not that talented of a player, in my opinion. But let's move into our top 10 here as we have Van Jefferson, wide receiver out of Florida, picked by the Los Angeles Rams in the 2nd round, 57th overall. This was definitely a surprise here. It's not that I don't like Van Jefferson. He's actually a very complete receiver compared to a lot of receivers. But he doesn't offer as much upside, I don't think. I definitely think he's an underrated player, just not that underrated to the point where he should be getting picked in the 2nd round. And mid-2nd round of that, like I said, Denzel Mims was still available then. I would rather have gone with him. I think Van Jefferson was definitely worth like an 3rd round pick, and I think I was expecting him to go more like 4th round. I think he was worth like a 3rd round pick in my opinion. So I don't know, it was a really strong receiver class, and I just don't see any reason to reach for a guy like Van Jefferson there in the 2nd round. That's just my opinion on it though, so it's not a terrible reach. But coming in at number 9, we got Michael Ojemudia, cornerback out of Iowa. Sorry if I said that name wrong. Denver Broncos picked him in the 3rd round, 77th overall. And Michael, I had like a 5th, 6th round grade on him, and he's going here in the 3rd round. It doesn't really make sense to me to pick a guy like Michael. He just doesn't offer that. He's not that talented. He's not great in man coverage. He's not great. He's a solid zone coverage player, which you can find players to do that. He's not a huge playmaker. I just think there were better corners on the board, and if they wanted to address that corner position, a lot of cornerbacks fell in the 2nd round. There were guys like Bryce Hall who fell to the 5th round. And I think Bryce Hall was way better than Michael Ojemudia. I don't see the point making this pick. I don't understand the pick by Broncos, but obviously must have seen something. But I definitely think this was a reach by the Broncos. As we move into number 8, this was a 1st round pick. AJ Terrell, cornerback out of Clemson. The Atlanta Falcons picked him in the 1st round, 16th overall. I mean, AJ Terrell's a solid corner, and he was probably worth like a late 1st round at best. I had a 2nd round grade on him. I think there were better corners like Jalen Johnson was still available. So was Christian Fulton, who I liked. I think both those guys are better than him. Yeah, I don't see the point in this pick by the Broncos or the Falcons, my bad. It just doesn't make that much sense to me when there are better corners on the board. AJ Terrell got absolutely destroyed by Ja'Marr Chase when he played an NFL caliber receiver. Like, they played an ACC schedule. You're not going to see that many great NFL caliber receivers. He played Ja'Marr Chase and got absolutely toasted. Like, he couldn't do anything against Ja'Marr Chase, and that's why I'm just not a huge fan of AJ Terrell. I think he was worth a 2nd round pick. Certainly not a pick in which he was picking the top half of the draft. That just doesn't make sense to me. But he's a talented player, so that's why he's not going to move up too much higher in the list. Next up at number 7, we got Josiah DeGuara, tight end out of Cincinnati, picked by the Green Bay Packers in the 3rd round, 94th overall. And I honestly, I'm a Packers fan, so he probably should be up a bit higher. And I think Jordan Love and A.J. Dillon probably should be on this list, but I think this is just me trying to convince myself that those picks weren't too bad, because I'm still in that phase of trying to convince myself that the Packers didn't totally screw up the draft. So we're just going to stick with Josiah DeGuara here. Picked in 3rd round, 94th overall. There were better tight ends. I mean, Adam Troutman, I think, would have been really good for their offense. Perfect fit. Definitely better than Josiah DeGuara. Obviously, he has upside, but I just don't see him being a complete tight end, ready to step in. And I don't see many of the players they selected being ready to step in now, which doesn't seem to make sense for me based on the fact that they were 1 game away from the Super Bowl last year. You want to pick players that are ready to step in now and win a Super Bowl. I don't know. It just doesn't make that much sense to me for the Packers to go pick a developmental tight end. And yeah, but at number 6, We have Jalen Hawkins, safety out of Cal, picked by the Atlanta Falcons in round 4, 134th overall. Yeah, I just really don't like Jalen Hawkins. I think his teammate Ashton Davis should have gotten picked higher. He should have gotten picked much lower than the 4th round. Late 6th round was the absolute earliest I would take him. I honestly would not have been surprised at all if he ended up being an undrafted free agent. He just doesn't offer much upside. He's not insanely athletic. He can't drop down in the box. He's just... I don't know if they thought that he was maybe overshadowed by his teammate Ashton Davis or something like that, but it's just way too much of a reach for me at this point. I honestly couldn't tell you if he's a good enough player to even make the NFL roster. I mean, he will, because they just wasted a 4th round pick on him, but I don't know if he should even make a roster. I don't think he's really talented enough to deserve a roster spot. That's just my opinion. It was way too much of a reach for the Atlanta Falcons in the 4th round. And we'll go to number 5, in which it is the second of the Patriots tight end reaches. Dalton Keene, tight end out of Virginia. The New England Patriots selected him in the 3rd round, 101st overall. Even more confusing part about this is that they traded up to get him. I just don't see any point in trading him to a guy like Dalton Keene. I had 6th round grade on Dalton Keene. It wasn't a very talented tight end class in my opinion, so that they just wanted to reach and take one. I mean, I shouldn't be talking. He's probably going to end up being the next Gronk. I mean, the Patriots. But, I mean, this pick just seems like his freaking dog picked him. Like, I don't know what they were thinking when they made this pick. Dalton Keene just isn't that talented of a player to me. And then for them to trade up to get him after they had already selected a tight end like 10 picks earlier, and Adam Troutman's still on the board, just none of this makes any sense to me at all. But the reason it's not higher is because, first off, the other 4 players left were drafted in the 1st round, and it was the Patriots, so who can say what's going to happen? Let's get into those final 4. First off, we've got Noah Igbinoghene, cornerback out of Auburn. Miami Dolphins picked him in the 1st round, 30th overall. Noah Igbinoghene, he's just a raw player. He's a converted wide receiver, so a lot to him. There's definitely upside, but like I said, guys like Jalen Johnson, Christian Fulton, all of them were still available. Both those guys I had 1st round grades on. I had Noah Igbinoghene as like a mid 2nd round grade. This was just too much of a reach for me here for the Dolphins too, who already spent tons of money on Xavier Howard and Byron Jones in free agency to address that cornerback position. So I would like them to go after that safety position with Xavier McKinney and Grant Delpit both still on the board. I don't see the reason to take Noah Igbinoghene. Like, what's up with that? I don't get it. 30th overall for a raw prospect that might pan out, might not pan out. I just don't see where this was worth this pick here, in my opinion. But we'll go to the 3rd, which is another Miami Dolphins pick, Austin Jackson, offensive tackle out of USC. They picked him in the 1st round, 18th overall. Another very raw player that underperformed this season. He did not play well. They're obviously drafting him for his potential upside and his athletic capabilities, but at 18th overall, I don't see the point in taking that big of a risk on a player when they can. I was expecting them to take a guy like safety like Grant Delpit or Xavier McKinney out of Alabama here. And then there's guys like Josh Jones that are still available. It fell to the 3rd round, in my opinion. He's a way better offensive tackle than Austin Jackson. He did not play like he was a 1st rounder at all. He played like he was a 3rd rounder at best. So it just doesn't make sense for the Dolphins, who are in rebuilding mode, to take a shot on a player like this. 18th overall, it just doesn't make sense to me. But yeah, we'll go to the 2nd biggest reach in this draft, and that was Jordan Brooks, linebacker out of Texas Tech, who the Seattle Seahawks selected in the 1st round, 27th overall here. The Seattle Seahawks always surprise us with their picks every single year, from Rashad Penny to who was it they picked last year out of TCU, the edge rusher. Can't remember his name. That's how bad of a season he had last year. It was just a surprise. It's not that I don't like Jordan Brooks. I think he's a good player, and I think he was an underrated player. But I don't think anyone was expecting him to go in the first round. I think second round was the earliest people were expecting him to go, and that's the earliest. I think most people were expecting him to go more third round, and here they are taking him in the first round. Yeah, I just don't get it. Especially with Patrick Queen still on the board, who was taken one pick later by the Baltimore Ravens. Patrick Queen was widely considered to be the second best linebacker in this class. Obviously, by many, Kenneth Murray. It was a battle kind of between Patrick Queen and Kenneth Murray for that second best linebacker spot, but they took Jordan Brooks instead. It doesn't make sense to me. He's a solid linebacker, but like, why address that position? They've already got Bobby Wagner there. It was just a reach for me, but it was not as big of a reach as our number one biggest reach in the 2020 NFL Draft, Damon Arnette, cornerback out of Ohio State, whom the Las Vegas Raiders selected in the first round, 19th overall. I think many people consider this to be the biggest reach, and for many obvious reasons. I mean, he wasn't even the best cornerback at his school, and in my opinion, he wasn't even the second best at his school. I think Shaun Wade, who's coming out next year, was better than him. I think he might have been a little underrated, a little bit, but I think most people were expecting him to go like third round, maybe late second round at absolute best, yet here they are taking him kind of middle of the draft range, 19th overall. It just makes absolutely no sense to me. Damon Arnette, I think he's a number 2 cornerback in the NFL. I don't think he's going to be your stud corner that they're looking at here. I think they might have thought he was just overshadowed by Jeffrey Okudah. I don't know what was going through their head when they decided to take him 19th overall, though, dude. It just makes no sense to me. He's a slot corner, which you can find those all over. So, yeah, that's just my opinion. I don't like the pick at all. But thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like and consider subscribing. It would help out a lot. If you have any video ideas, leave them down in the comment section below. And if you disagree with any of my picks or you think some of these guys should have been out, then let me know in the comment section down below. I would love to hear it. And yeah, we put out videos every other day. Our next couple of videos will be like divisional draft grades for each team, so stay tuned for those. And yeah, thank you guys for watching. Have a great day, a great week, and a great life. I will see you guys later.